Hi guys, it's Emily from Novelle Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my February wrap up part 2. Now unfortunately February was not the best month reading wise. I read far more books than I expected to, which I'm not denying is great. I did have a fair few 4-star reads, but in the second half I only had 2 5-star reads. So for me it's been quite a disappointing month. There's not been many books that have really jumped out and exceeded my expectations. Some of my 4 stars I could probably have rated 3 stars, to be honest, because they were pushing it to be 4, if that makes sense. And looking back, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I might change them, I don't know. But it was not the best reading month, but still I read some good cosy books. I did read a lot of good books and I did well. So are you ready for my statistics? Say it right this month. So yes, like I said, I read 30 books this month. And what I'm really proud of is that 25 were off my unread TBR. Now, what's knocked me down in the fact to get my unread TBR down was the fact that I received 15 books. Now, admittedly, 7 of those were from Connor's Book Corner. I read his, sorry, I'll link his channel down below. I won a giveaway on his channel, so I won 7 books from him. I got 3 gifts from the lovely Ange with an E. She's such a lovely lady, thank you so much. I got 1 early birthday present from Gaia Athena. And yeah, I think Chris bought me 1, so I did pretty good. I think and I got 1 book for read along, you know. So from Tandem. I'm wondering, guys, would you like me to show you, because I don't do favourites like I used to do, would you like me to show you the books I get, even as like it rather than a haul? I wonder whether I should do like a books I get sort of monthly video, so do it every month, get the books I not only buy but the books I get given. What do you think? Should I do a separate video for that every month as like an extra little one? So I can show you all together what I'm getting. Now, what I've decided, I spoke to Chloe, bounced this off Chloe's idea, which is that, because obviously March is birthday month and everything, what I'm going to do is, and the shops don't, fingers crossed, are reopening in April. I think what I will do is, at the end of March, I will show you the books I've been given for my birthday and the books I bought, because I know me, I'll still buy some. So I'm either going to do a March and April one together or just a March one to see how I go. But if you look on my Instagram account, I'm going to determine to show you the books that I get sent on Instagram every time I get any gifts or anything, just to give you guys an idea, because I am so grateful, and I'm so grateful for all of you. So I also obviously do my weekly read my birthday vlog, which I'll be starting filming on Saturday, which should be good. Day after this goes up, I'll be starting recording, because it's looking like I'm going to have a fun week, even though the weather's not supposed to be predicted nice that week. Anyway, I've been rambling again. I did also buy 6 books. 3 of them were not technically bought. I was giving away a load of books on my People Help the People site, my local site, and a lovely person decided to give me 3 books, something. So I did count that as buying, because I don't know, I should have probably counted it as a gift, but I bought 3 books. One of them, by the way, I bought Maleficent. Oh my God, I'm so excited by that. So I did buy 6. So my February unread TBR was 421. I've now got it down to 417. But like I said, in March, I'm expecting it to go up, 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 up. Another big incentive to try and read more books in March. And the kids are back next week. Yay. So I'll have a bit more time, hopefully. Let's see how I do. So now, should I go on with the genres? So I read 1 thriller this month. No, 2 thrillers, 1 poetry, 3 fantasy, which I've done a lot, not as good on that, which is probably another reason why my ratings aren't as good this month. Need to read more fantasy in March. Note to self. 4 chick lit. Again, another reason why the ratings are not brilliant, because chick lits don't tend to get very high ratings. 4 non-fiction. Again, they don't tend to get exceedingly good ratings. 4 contemporary, like I said, but 8 historical fictions. But actually, my favourite books of the month, I think, are quite interesting if you look at the genres. That'll be a little sneaky peek to the end. So let's get on with the books that I read in the second half of the month, and I'll show you. The first one is Best Friends Forever by Jennifer Weiner. That did have a low rating on Goodreads, but I went into it with hopes because it's about best friends. And I had a lot of high hopes for this. Unfortunately, it didn't exceed that. It only got 2.5 stars. The friendship side of it's all right, but there was, again, fatphobic comments. I'm getting really fed up of those. It's about there's some disparaging comments about Down syndrome, which I think, if looking at it, the author didn't mean it in a disparaging way, but to me it could have been portrayed a lot better. It just wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I don't think I'm going to try this author again. Not really for me. But, you know, hey ho, I tried it. So now I'm going on to my 3 stars. The first 3 stars is Grandmothers by Sally Vickers. I listened to it on audiobook off my library. Thank God for the library ebooks and audiobooks. They've been amazing. And again, it was a nice book. It talked about 3 or 4 different grandmothers and their stories and how they interlinked. As it went on, it was quite a cosy read, but very contemporary, very cosy, nothing explosive. I've got a better audiobook that I'm listening to at the moment, so what do I tell you what I'm listening to? I think it's The Secret Letter or The Scarlet Letter by someone. I'm reading a historical fiction book, wartime historical fiction book, which is amazing. Listening to that on audiobook, that is exceeding me. But yeah, so Grandmothers wasn't amazing. Then I read The Queen's Governess by Karen Harper. This is a new Tudor author to me, so that's ticked off one of my goals. And it was definitely a good book. This is basically about the governess of Elizabeth Tudor. And she is a lovely lady, Cat. We've already heard about Cat, actually. A lot of people have heard about her. She was Queen Elizabeth I's governess, and she was with her from birth. And it was nice to hear about another member of someone that was part of the Tudors era, but was not directly. So she wasn't one of the kings or queens or princesses or prince, but she was someone that was connected to them. And her story was quite fascinating. The length she went through for Queen Elizabeth I. Now, I know obviously this is fictional, but it has got some non-fictional parts in it, if you think about their story. So it's based on non-fiction. So that part of it's quite fascinating. I love the Tudor era. You guys know I do. And it was nice because at the start, you've got a bit of mystery in it. So it's quite nice because at the start of this, Cat Ashley's mum dies. And she has the evil stepmother and that kind of thing. So that was quite nice. And see how she gets interwoven into Queen Elizabeth's life and how she looks after her. It was lovely. Very nicely cosy read. 3 stars, but it was a good 3 stars. This was one of the better 3 stars. But I definitely look forward to reading more of Karen Harper's works, because she's definitely a lot of a new surprise Tudor author, a new surprise historical fiction author, I believe, because I've got a book down there in my shelves about William Shakespeare, which is obviously after. That's going to be quite fascinating. But I'm going to give this away because I would like someone else to read that. I think that's definitely quite a good one. Now, my book that's my bit of a letdown this month, but I'm going to keep it because I think I need to reread it. It was probably one that I need to reread, which is Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. Now, you guys know I love The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. It was amazing. And Velma and Black got 4 stars. So I thought, this is going to be better than Velma and Black. But unfortunately for me, it wasn't. It was slow paced. I didn't understand all of it. It was good, and like the ending was amazing. I must admit, the ending, if anything, upped it. It was almost like 3 to 3.5 stars for the ending. That was amazing. It was the longest night of the year, and the strangest of things happened. In an ancient inn in the Thames, the regulars are entertaining themselves by telling stories as the door bursts open, and in steps an injured stranger. In his arms is a drowned corpse of a child. Hours later, the dead girl stirs, takes a breath, and returns to life. Is it a miracle or is it magic? And this has got stories upon stories in this, and it's got different characters, and you're trying to find out who the girl is, and everyone else has got claims on her, and there's some good characters and there's some bad, but it didn't jump out at me as it's anywhere near as good as The 13th Tale. And I think that's the thing, when you read the author's best work and then you go back and read books before that, you end up feeling, I think that could probably have let me down even more. But I am going to keep it because not only is it a beautiful book, pay full price, which always makes me feel a bit guilty if I don't like it, but it's one I think I need to reread to go more into it and see if I understand it more, if I'm not reading it sort of a set pages a day and I can really go really deep into it. So that is going to be in my keepy. So now I go into my 4-star books, and I've got some good ones, and I've got some nice, they're all good. None of them, just because none of them are jumping out the best books of the month, kind of great, they're all good books. And then most of them are chick lit now. So this is my first chick lit, which is Lost Dogs and Lonely Hearts. This is a cosy, it's a 4 stars, but it's probably 3.5 to 4 stars. The reason why I gave it 4 was because it did give me the warm fuzzies. It did give me that cosy, lovely vibe. and it's got about dogs and it's got about animals. And you know me and my animals. I love my cats. I love cats and I love animals. So Rachel has inherited a house in the country along with rescue kennels. She claims she's not a dog person, but then she tries to match and abandon pets with their new owners with some unexpected results, and that is really cosy. That's the cosy side of it. Then you've got Natalie and Johnny's marriage. It hasn't been easy since they started trying for a baby, but Will adopting Bertie, a fridge-raiding, sofa-stealing Basset hound, make up for it. That was funny. There's some really funny bits in that within the heartbreak. And then, meanwhile, Zoe's ex-husband leaves the kids in a Labrador puppy and left her to pick up the pieces. She's at the end of her tether until her pup leads her to the handsome Dr. Bill, whose own perfect match isn't what he was expecting at all. Yes, it's a predictable romance, but it's a cosy, it was nice to read at bedtime romance, and I did enjoy it. So it's one, I've definitely read more of Lucy Dillon's. They are definite cosy, probably not books I would buy full price, but cosy chiclets, so I'll definitely say that. Then I got another Sophie Kinsella. This is probably one of our older ones, I believe. The UnDomestic Goddess. And, oh my God, this was 4 stars purely and simply because not with the believability, not because of the storylines, 100%, but because of the fact that it made me crack up laughing. It was my last book that I finished of the month, and I laughed with every bit of my heart. If you don't take this book seriously, you will laugh. Samantha at the start of this is like a high-powered lawyer in London. She works all hours, has no home life, cares only about getting a partnership. She thrives on pressure and adrenaline until one day she makes a mistake so huge it will wreck her career. So she walks out of the office, runs away, and ends up at the door of this big house, and they think she's going to be a housekeeper. So she takes on the job of housekeeper, even though she doesn't know how to cook, clean, do anything. And those parts where she's doing it and blagging it are absolutely friggin' hilarious. I laughed my head off. Yes, you got a romance that you were predicting. Yes, you got what happens when there's a twist, and the twist you can almost predict a little bit, but it was so funny. If you know about housework, if you know about things like that, and how you sort of have to learn, and there's like another character in it that's really sweet, like a mum of someone, and oh, I loved it. It was a really good cozy read, and definitely a chicklet that I'm so glad I read it. It was a thoroughly funny book, definitely a good one. I think this is a 4 stars for definite 4 stars. Yes, I'm not keeping it because I don't need to reread it, but it's hilarious. And if you want a book to make you laugh, definitely pick that up. Then I got a historical fiction that it's been on my shelf for ages, so I decided to read it as an extra book. And this is another 4 stars. And this was a lovely book as well. This was a lovely 4 stars. This thoroughly deserved 4 stars. Alice Lee, a middle-aged and unmarried, is the only volunteer when the minister asks his congregation to help young Zebediah Bailey. Zeb is in prison for a ghastly crime, and the townspeople would rather forget than forgive this local lad who lost his way. Alice dutifully writes to him every week and sending him letters and sweet shops from her street shop. I love the fact that she is the epitome of not being a standard woman of her time. She works, she runs her own business. She takes in someone who no one else would. And I think I love the way that side of her. I love that you can just see that she's reaching out and she's not being the stereotype. So this is like set in the 1800s, 1855 it's set in. And it's set in County Durham. So it's a bit of an era that I've not been to. And it's really interesting. I love the way she like looks after Seb, and she doesn't stick to prejudices, and she stands up for herself. And it's a thoroughly enjoyable book. I definitely want to read more historical fiction books by this author. And if you like historical fiction, there's a bit of romance in it, but it isn't just about the romance. It's more about just rescuing people and seeing through exteriors. So I really did enjoy that. Now, we've got my buddy read with Leo from A Little Book Life, Olive Ketteridge. Now, I literally just watched his video. And this is actually a series, and what I didn't know was that it's a section of short stories with Olive Ketteridge. So it's stories upon stories. And if you look at it in that way, Olive is not the main focus of the story throughout it. Sorry kids, where kids are in the background being noisy. As she grows older, so it's about Alice Kittredge, a retired school teacher in a small coastal town of Maine. As she grows older, she struggles to make sense of the changes in her life. She's a woman who sees the heart of those around her and the triumphs and tragedies. Olive at the start of this I hated, and she isn't the main character. It's a 4 stars, but I did struggle. I found it quite slow paced. I'm trying to keep my temper. And it was all right, but it was nothing exceptional. It was 4 stars, and looking at it after watching Leo's wrap-up, he describes it a lot better. By the end of it, I really did enjoy reading about Olive, and I definitely think I want to read Olive again now. It's one I'm going to look through when the charity shops reopen, because I'd like to read more in depth about her. But this is definitely a slow-paced book. It's nothing exceptional. It's nothing that's going to jump out. It's not exciting and thrilling, but you do find out more about Olive and people in that little town. So for that way, it definitely deserves the 4 stars. It will be going to charity shop. I've got a book that I borrowed from Gemma from Read a Book Gem, and this is non-fiction. It's set in southern Sudan. Veronica is a teenager. She's got 3 characters that are set in that time, and it's their time at a time when in the Civil War. So you've got Veronica, who's a teenager, and the Civil War erupts, and you've got Daniel, who's a son of a colonel. I can't say the word. And then you've got Lillian, a young mother who runs for her life, holding the hand of her little boy Harmony. And this is very hard hitting. It's non-fiction, and the author has actually met these people, or spoken to people that know them. So it's quite fascinating, but it's very, very hard hitting, which is why it's 4 stars. Gemma will get that back. Then I've got my thriller that I read with Gaia from Gaia Athena, The Third Wife by Lisa Jewell. I am picking up all of Lisa Jewell's thrillers now. This was the second of her thrillers that I've read, and it was bloody good. The Third Wife, and it was like, you think you have the perfect life. You're successful, attractive, well-liked. You got married for the 3rd time. Actually, no, I didn't read this with Gaia. Just realising I read the last one with Gaia. This was my TBR jar pick, and this was the one that I didn't know if I was going to like, and I did. Was it my TBR jar? Can't remember. I think so. My brain is completely fried. But this was really good. I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's okay. And, you know, she's about this new wife, and oh, that story, brilliant, brilliant, thoroughly good thriller. But again, it's another one that's going to go bye-byes. I am going to have a quick look and see what my TBR jar picked, because I thought that The Third Wife was my TBR jar pick. And now I'm going, and guess who didn't write her TBR jar pick? Nope. The Third Wife was my TBR jar pick. Sorry about that, guys. My brain's completely fried. Now, a book I picked up off my shelves because I was running out of other books was The Innocent Traitor by Alison Weir. I picked this off my shelves because I wanted another extra book to read, and it's been on my shelves for a long time. And this is the story of Lady Jane Grey. Now, I've read about her in one of the Philippa Gregory Plantagenet series, which I read in the wrong order, and I read about her and her sisters, and this one goes right back to her being born, her whole story of her life. And she was someone that had the bloody roughest end of the stick. She really did. Because she was born in times of extreme danger, child of a scheming father and a ruthless mother, for whom she's merely a pawn in a dynastic power game of the highest stakes. And she went through some bloody hard times. Her mother was horrible. She was used thoroughly. She was one of the great nieces of King Henry VIII. So his sister Mary's daughter's daughter. Her sister Mary's granddaughter. And she never met her grandmother, Mary, and I've read about her a little bit, so she was the youngest. And she really was used, and it was a thoroughly interesting story, and it's brilliant. I think this is fiction, but it is based on her life. And again, this was 4 stars, but it was the top end of 4 stars. It was really, really good. And definitely one I recommend, that if you want to know about someone that was part of the main characters, so she was part of the royal family, but she had it really, really hard. Definitely thoroughly loved that. I'm getting rid of it, but I'm not sure if I am. No, I will, because I've got loads more Tudor books to read on that shelf. Now, the next one I've got is a book that I read for a read-along, When I Ran Away by Ileana Bannister. I probably said her name wrong. I read it for part of a read-along with Tandem. Loved it. 4 stars, but it was a good 4 stars for me. It's 4 borderline 5. Because if anything, it was one of my best books of the month. If you think about it, that it was top end of 4 stars. And my only 5 stars are not middle grade, believe it or not, for the second half. Here's what Gigi knows. She's a New Yorker living in London. Her mother ate cheese from a can. Her mother-in-law serves terrine. She was ambitious. She worked hard. Now she finds the choice of the pastoral overwhelming. Her husband is pretending that everything's okay when she knows it's not. Her brother died in 9/11. Her heart is broken. She loves her adopted son, but she's not sure about the new baby. And she doesn't want to be the kind of mother she had, but she's also worried she can't help it. To me, I can't definitely say it because it's not formally identified as postnatal depression, but to me that's what it's screaming out throughout this. It's also screaming out that grief and how grief can affect you so much after you've lost that person that you loved. And that is why this is a really good book. It gets you thinking about this. At the start of it, she runs away. She leaves her children with their husband. And I think that was probably why it didn't get 5 stars, because as much as we all, especially right now, we would all love to run away and go into a hotel room to get peace and quiet. I could never do it. I could never leave my children. But if you're looking at it like that she's hit rock bottom, how many of us, if we could, would we do it? And it gets you really thinking, gets the cogs turning in your brain. Because would you run away? Would you get away? I know I'd love peace and quiet, and I can't wait for that when I go back next week. But that's what's challenging. That's kind of why it didn't get the 5 stars, because as much as I would be tempted, I couldn't put myself in that position, and that's where I found it hard. I also found it hard, the stereotypes of when she comes from the America to the UK, she's very much she thinks about the stereotypes of the English people. So that's kind of why it let it down. But it was a really good book. It tackled motherhood, grief, baby groups, a lot of things, and postnatal depression really well, because I had postnatal depression with both my kids, especially my daughter, my eldest. So for me, it did remind me a lot about that. So that's why it's a good book, but beware, there are certain clicks about when you think about the American prejudices about the UK and things like that, and about whether you would leave your children. I'm going to keep that for Shirley Vincent, because I think it is a good book, and I don't know if anyone else would like to borrow it. Then one of my last books was, you guys know, my favourite TV series. I hardly ever watch TV because I read. That's how I read so much. But I still watch Friends I've watched the Friends from naught to the start about at least 10 times. It's always replayed on Channel 5 in the UK. And I've watched this. I literally know all the lines about Friends. But this is the book on the Friends series. And it is brilliant. I bought it last year for my birthday. So again, it was one I bought out of my birthday money. And it's brilliant. Got pictures of the Friends characters now. Or Matt Perry's not in this, and God, they look different now, don't they? It was Friends was a series that was around when I was a teenager, my late teens. It's a series that I've grown up with, and it's my cozy go-to thing on the TV to watch when I need to smile, when I need to laugh. Yes, if you think about it now, there are so many things that could be problematic almost, but at the time it's cozy. It's a book and it's a series that you like and that makes you laugh, and looking back, still 20 odd years on, I will still laugh my head off when I watch it. So I loved reading this. Thoroughly good, 4 stars. And the other book that I read Moonrise by Sarah Crossman on my ebook, my library ebook, and that is a book told in verse. Very, very, very hard hitting. I read it because of Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. She talked about it. I read it on the ebook. It was brilliant. Again, Sarah Crossman has got an amazing writing style. Her writing in verse, you fly through the books, but it is probably one of her hardest hitting books. So be warned. Brilliant. So now I'm going to go on to my 5-star books. I've only got 2, one physical book and one book that I read on the ebook. Physical book was Frost Heart by Jamie Littner. And then again, another book which I borrowed off my sister Charlie. She has the most beautiful books ever. It's her fault. There's another book that was coming out that I might buy this week. But this is the second in the Frost Heart series, Escape to Aurora. This is slower paced than the first, which is why it's not my favourite book of the month. But the ending made me scream. The ending made me... by the way, if anyone knows, when is the 3rd book in the series coming out? Because I bloody want it now, and I'm always tempted to buy the whole lot because I want it. Because this was brilliant. This was absolutely amazing. I can't tell you too much about it because it... Obviously, it's second in the series, and you've got to read the first, excuse me. But this is about Ash, and he's on his way to be a pathfinder, and he's having a real sort of fast-paced adventure. He's got friends. It's brilliant. It's exciting. There are some really scary bits. It's a blooming good book, and I thoroughly loved it. And then the last book, which was probably one of my joint favourite books of the month, which is Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow. I read it on ebook. I can't remember the name of the author. Stupid me, forgot to write it down. Simon from Simon Savage has actually read it, and he loved it. And it is brilliant. It is a contemporary issue about a boy and his father who find out his father isn't necessarily what he expects. And it's fun, it's exciting, and I thoroughly, thoroughly loved it. Charlie, my sister, said to me, borrow it on ebook. It's just come out in the library with ebook. She said, borrow it. And I thought I won't get it till middle grade March, and I was saving it for middle grade March. But then I got approved for it earlier than I expected, and I read it in a couple of days. Absolutely amazing. One of the best middle grade books I've ever read. It's absolutely brilliant. And that is my joint favourite book of the month with my favourite book from the first half, Tidelands by Philippa Gregory. Thought about it, that's going to be my joint favourite book of the month. But yeah, February wasn't necessarily the best reading month I've had. Not started off the year great because January and February have not been fantastic reading months. But let's hope March is amazing. What was your favourite book of the month? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.